Hello, good evening, and here is an update on the Freedom of Information request I submitted to the Department of Work and Pensions back on the 11th of December, which they very kindly replied to within a week, which I was impressed with. I was asking what the £28,000 worth of spending was on their August 2024 spreadsheet, which detailed spending of £500 or over. You see, there were lots of entries in places like John Lewis and Argos and Halfords, where there was no explanation what that spending was for. Now, we all love a bit of John Lewis, so my interest was piqued and I went looking for answers. And I sort of have some answers. So here's what they've told me. They replied saying that these should have been listed as approval to buy transactions, which is where a one-time code is generated for someone to purchase items online using that code, and that no invoice is produced in those instances. Now, this spending is part of something called the Flexible Support Fund. And the Flexible Support Fund is a fund which is there to remove the barriers to work faced by people who are currently looking for work. So, for example, what could that mean? It could mean certain clothing that you need, perhaps a smart suit to go to a job interview, or the cost of travel to get to an interview. Or if you're training to be a chef, chef's knives, for example. So that's the Flexible Support Fund, which I'd never heard of. And it sounds quite interesting to me in that it could be a good idea. Whatever your initial thoughts, why would we be selling someone chef's knives to train to be a chef? They should get them themselves. But I suppose if we were buying them chef's knives and that meant they were no longer the recipient of certain out-of-work benefits, then in the long run, we win. Costs us less and we're training some chefs. That's a good idea. Perhaps. Let me know if you disagree. Anyway, I digress. It's great that the DWP answered and told me what the money had been spent on. But the real unanswered question which remains is not just what is that spending, but how is that spending managed? Because as we know, governments don't have a great track record when it comes to spending money wisely or effectively. And so, excuse me while I pop these back on, I replied to their reply and just asked a few more questions, which I haven't received a response to yet, but we've all been enjoying a bit of turkey. So the first question I sent: 1, why are invoices not produced? 2, who monitors the spending on and allocation of the items purchased? Does the claimant purchase the goods themselves using this approval to buy code, or does an employee of the DWP do it? Let's assume, question 3, a claimant needed a suit for a round of job interviews. How is the suit chosen? How much money is allocated towards that suit, or is it in effect a blank check? Could a claimant say, I've gone and bought a suit from Next for £159, or here's my receipt for a Hugo Boss suit? Let's assume an applicant needs a set of chef's knives, question 4, to start training as a chef. How would the DWP monitor that that claimant has actually begun training and sustained the job as a trainee chef? And if they haven't, what happens to those knives? Now, I know that may seem very petty in the grand scheme of things, but this is one government department, 1 month, £28,000 worth of spending of £500 or over. It's not even anything under £500. So this is something that would really add up, and we need to know that the money is being spent wisely. So finally, are the entries on each line listed for individual purchases, or could several purchases be bundled together? So for example, Halford's £960. Is that because someone needs a supersonic something or other to train as a mechanic? You can see where my skills are lacking. Or is that several people purchasing several items? Anyway, if you have any experience of the Flexible Support Fund, perhaps it's helped you, that would be really interesting to hear from you, or perhaps you are involved in the allocation and distribution of it and you're prepared to whistle blow. Please let us know. I'm really interested. I think it's a very interesting topic, and I'm loving sniffing around to see what's going on out there. Please subscribe. Thank you for watching, and when I have an update, I will be back in touch.